mattina mi sono svegliato. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Una mattina mi sono svegliato e ho trovato l'invasor.
Una mattina mi sono svegliato. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Una mattina mi sono svegliato.
Okay, welcome back everyone. Today we're taking a look at the Italian Carcano Fucile Modello 1891/41, or the rifle model 1891-41. This has also been known as the Fucile per Alpine, or rifle for Alpine troops. This was the last Carcano variant ever designed in the 50 years or so of the Carcano family lineage, and kind of went back to its long rifle basics. It was designed in 1941, of course, while Italy was already committed to World War II, but it wasn't really an improvement on the Carcano design in any meaningful way, and actually was a bit of a de-evolution. Now, with that being said, this is a continuation of a series of presentations I've been doing on the Carcano family of rifles. The Carcanos, for those of you who are unfamiliar with them, were the main small arms used by the Italian military from the mid-1890s up until the end of World War II. I've organized these videos in chronological order of development in a playlist here on the channel, so I will link to that in the video description if you're interested in watching them in order from the beginning. So the Model 9141 is chambered in the 6.5 Carcano cartridge, it's 46 inches in total length, and has a 27-inch barrel, and weighs about 8.5 pounds. Additionally, has a straight bolt handle, a bayonet lug, and is fitted for a standard Model 1891 bayonet. Also has a nose cap, mid-barrel band, and then a rear sight that graduates from 300 to 1,000 meters, and a 200-meter battle sight. Additionally, it has a cleaning rod, a dual sling system, which you can see here, so it goes underhand as well as in the front. And then it has a standard Carcano action, which loads 6 rounds through the top in a metal M-block clip. So the Model 41 is basically a redevelopment of the original 1891 long rifle that is a bit shorter in overall length by about 3 inches, has shorter sight graduations, and has no gain twist rifling. So this kind of begs the question, why would the Italians want to go back and start new production of slightly modified long rifles? Rifles had gotten shorter during this period, not longer. Well, remember in 1938, the Italian Ministry of War developed a new standard infantry rifle for its armed forces, the Model 38. The Model 38 was more compact with a 21-inch barrel, it was lighter, had fixed sights set for 200 meters, and it was more universal for the kind of training and combat the Italian armed forces expected to engage in, which was fast mobile warfare that involved shorter combat distances and combined arms with mechanized units. Well, when Italy entered World War II, they actually had the opportunity to put the Model 38 into combat, along with the rest of their wartime technology. The reality was much closer to World War I style fighting. As you can imagine, the Italian invasion of Greece and southern France was marked by slow fighting through a slog of hard-to-navigate mountain passes over long distances. The Greek campaign, for example, didn't really go that well for Italy, mostly due to poor planning. But they kind of realized a rifle with a fixed range of 200 meters might not be adequate enough for this kind of fighting scenario. If you're fighting in these large mountains, you're probably going to need something with a longer reach. So as a result, the Model 41s were developed and issued to Italian Alpine divisions, many of which were part of the Italian Expeditionary Force that participated on the Eastern Front in Russia, hence the name Fucile per Alpine. Russia and the Soviet Union had vast open lands where a longer rifle that could reach up to 1,000 meters would be practical and more useful. However, the rifle was broadly issued to Italian armed forces and likely by Italian partisans as well. The Italians were really good at reusing and reutilizing available 6.5 Carcanos they had in stock, so you would have seen almost every model and make of the Carcano used throughout this conflict. As a note, it's not like a 27-inch barrel on the Model 41 was much longer than other weapons used by major powers in World War II. The German K98K, for example, had a 23.6-inch barrel, and the Lee Enfield, the number 1 Mark III, had a 25.2-inch barrel. So it wasn't out of place, it was just a step back from what they had been producing and using the previous decade. In fact, you could even say the Model 38 was probably a little too advanced for its time. You know, talking about going backwards in design, they had to revert back to using older adjustable sights on this model in order to achieve longer sighting abilities. Remember, with the adoption of this new Model 38 design before the start of World War II, the Italians got rid of adjustable sights entirely and opted instead for a fixed notch sight, which saved in production cost and was easier to train on and used. However, they decided to reintroduce adjustable sights on the Model 41, which would be necessary for the kind of combat they thought they would be engaging in, at least in theory. The quality on the 41 is really no different than any other Carcano built. It's a durable rifle that is reliable in the field and had good ballistics. So even though we say it's going back to basics, it doesn't mean it's a compromised weapon. It would have been just as reliable as any other Carcano fielded. They took away the gain twist rifling that was on the original 1891 long rifle, but this really had no effect on the gun's performance. The other interesting thing is that they kept the straight bolt handle from the original 1891 design, which seems honestly ergonomically awkward considering curved down bolt handles were used on every post-war model, post-war meaning post-World War I. So the troop specials that were produced in the 1920s and 30s all had bent down bolt handles. Even the World War I Moschettos had turned down bolt handles, and they were generally more comfortable. This would create problems, however, with the straight bolts if you were trying to sling it over your back. So I'm not sure the design reason behind this, but here it is. Now, in terms of manufacturing, the 41s were produced at two different arsenals, Terni and Armagera Cremona. 677,000 were made at Terni between 1941 and 1943, and then 248,000 at Armagera between 1942 and 1945. Production stopped in Terni in 1943 with the Italian armistice on September 8th, but production continued at Armagera under German occupation until the end of the war. In total, 925,000 Model 41s were made in World War II. Okay, now taking a look at the receiver, there's a couple different things going on here. On the left side of the receiver, or the barrel, we have the serial number, and then on the right side, we have a FC, which is an inspector stamp, and then the crest of Savoy, which you can barely make out here. This is the symbol of the Kingdom of Italy, so the stamp means that it was accepted into government service. Pretty standard, but this is not as defined on the surface as you would have seen on earlier made Carcanos. Typically, you would also see the manufacturing year written out in Roman numerals, but in this case, it's at the top of the receiver inside of the manufacturer's mark. So you can see this manufacturer's crest right here. This is FAT 42, meaning Fabbrica Armi di Terni, which basically means Weapons Factory of Terni, and was manufactured in 1942. Like we said, they had reverted back to using an adjustable rear sight, but it had slightly different scales than what was previously used on the preceding Carcano carbines and long rifles. The battle sight was set for 200 meters when set all the way forward like this, and then it's adjustable for between 300 and 1,000 meters. So this is set for 300, and then you can go all the way to this last increment. Comparing the 41 here to an earlier 1937 manufactured Moschetto, there was a increment that went up to 1,500 meters, and the starting increment was at 600 meters. I suspect they did this because, well, battlefield distances were shorter in this era, so they decided, look, 300 meters with a 200 meter battle sight is good, and then, no one's really practically shooting past 1,000 meters at this point. The stock is made of a single piece of walnut or beechwood, and then it has a singular upper handguard here. This one being made of walnut, of course. Like we said before, it has a bayonet lug underneath the nose cap here, which accepts the model 1891 bayonet, and then we have a channel underneath the stock here for the cleaning rod. It also has a dual sling system, so it can accommodate a typical underhand sling right here, and then it can also have a side sling, as you can see. Many Carcano models adopted a dual sling system because different units requested this ability. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, and I can't verify this at all, but I've heard that some German K98K slings were installed on the Model 41s manufactured under German occupation in Armagera because of supply shortages. So this is what I have it on right now, but this may not be historically objective at all, but it does make a pretty good sling. Now the buttstock is pretty normal with a serial number repeated right here a post-war refurbishment stock cartouche, and then we have our dual point sling system for either a side or bottom mounted sling. Again, I've organized this series of videos in chronological order, so if you're interested in watching from the beginning, I'll direct you to the playlist in the description. This was actually the first Carcano rifle I ever purchased back in 2017 for $350. It is a very reliable rifle, feels good, and actually I really like the aesthetic and style to it. Next time I hope to look at the Type I Carcano, which was made by Italy for the Japanese Imperial Navy. And I also want to take a look at the Model 38 Troop Special that was rechambered post-war for 8mm Mauser. Now, the information I used for this video comes from the book Model 1891 Carcano Rifle, A Detailed Development and Production History. I'll leave a link to this book in the video description below as a reference. If you like this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
E ho trovato l'invasor, oh partigiano, portami via. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Oh partigiano, portami via, che mi sento